Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. You guys are the best. I mean that, and I truly appreciate it. This is our weekly Buffalo Bills takeaway episode. I'm solo today, week 11, my biggest Buffalo Bills takeaways after spending a couple hours early on Monday morning watching the All 22 back. And it was just as sweet on Monday morning as it was on Sunday late afternoon into the early evening. The Buffalo Bills head into their bye week at 9-2. This is the first time the Bills have been 9-2 since 1992. So 32 years has been since the Bills have had a record this good this late in the season. Obviously, it is a great time to be a Bills fan. Typically with this episode, by the way, I do, I come on after watching the film and also kind of going over the PFF grades. I'm recording this a little earlier than normal on Monday, so the PFF grades for this game haven't even come out yet for me to analyze. And I'm going to be honest with you, quite frankly, I really don't give a shit what the PFF grades say in this game. I feel really comfortable watching this game back, and everything that I thought I saw on film, and I feel really good about what I saw. I really don't need this week anyway any PFF grades to kind of confirm or change what I felt to begin with. This isn't really so much a takeaway from the game, but again, just what a great time, folks, here to be a Buffalo Bills fan. This has been 11 weeks in such an enjoyable, fun season, and I'm not quite sure why. I mean, the biggest reason, of course, is this team is really good. I think maybe part of that might be because this is a team that, for the first time in at least maybe say 3 years, is exceeding almost everyone's expectations of them. Like, this team has been really good now for the last handful of years, but the difference between this year and the past, couple years previous to this is that I think the expectation was that the Bills were one of, maybe even arguably anyway, at this point of the season, the best team in the entire NFL. Like, that was the expectation. I don't think that was the expectation, at least not for most, going into the season. It certainly wasn't for me. I would highly suspect a lot of you feel the same way. I go back to Sunday morning and I went to Wegmans, and we're going to get into, like I said, my biggest Bills takeaways here in just a second, but this is related to the Bills here. So I go to Wegmans on Sunday morning. I'm not a big fan of that, but I've been busy, like, towards the end of the week, into the weekend, just a lot of things going on, and your boy just needed to get some groceries, and that was the opportunity. I'm not a big fan of going to Wegmans on any Sunday morning, especially a Sunday morning during football season, because it's just mobbed like crazy. And it was. But I walk into the store, and this is not different. Look, the Bills could be playing the Carolina Panthers. They could be playing the Arizona Cardinals, the Vegas Raiders in Orchard Park. It doesn't matter. Or it could be on the road, actually, for that matter. You're always going to see, especially on a Bills game day anywhere in Buffalo, I'm just using Wegmans as one specific example, you're going to see a sea of Buffalo Bills blue and white and red jerseys all over the place. Lots of Go Bills. That's not nothing new. But it was just a different type of energy around the city on Sunday before this game, and you really felt it. It was truly electric. Just walking around Wegmans, I mean, literally, even more than normal, Bills gear everywhere. Everyone saying, "Go Bills." Strangers literally coming up to me, high-fiving me. Hell, they don't even know that I'm a Bills fan. I didn't have any Bills gear on. They just assume that you are. But the energy was just electric. If you were at the stadium, if you were lucky enough to be at that game, I'm sure you felt it even more. But even just walking around, like I said, going to a grocery store, being around town a little bit before the game, watching it on television, you could just feel that energy level was a little bit more than normal, which again is good to begin with. I watched the game with my family like I usually typically do on a Sunday, and enjoyable. It brought a lot of joy watching that football game and just the whole vibe and everything about it. And it's something that I don't know, maybe I'm enjoying it now more because I'm not taking any of this for granted. It's been a while now. And if you're young and you're just become, if you just became a Bills fan over the last 7 or 8 years, you're almost kind of spoiled by what you're seeing most weeks. For a lot of us, especially people like say if you're in your mid 20s to maybe early to mid 30s, even 17 years without a playoff game is still pretty fresh in my mind. Like we're going into, we're past the midpoint of November. We're about a week and a half out from Thanksgiving. And I remember many years over the course of that 17-year drought, when it was this time of year, I was already locked into mock drafts. Like the Bills are out of it. 11 weeks in, the Bills are 3-8, 4-7, 5-6. You might be, borderline in the hunt, but you knew this team wasn't a playoff caliber team. And you were locked in on mock drafts. How low can the Bills finish? In some cases, hell, you're even rooting against them to win because you want to get that top 10 pick. And by mid to late November, you were locked in on a lot, if not all, of the big draft prospects. Well, I don't know shit about next year's draft, and I don't want to know shit about next year's draft, and I don't have to worry about next year's draft as a Buffalo Bills content creator and lifelong fan, because this team just exceeds expectations from this year. So I don't want that to be lost on myself, and hopefully none of you as well. If you are a Buffalo Bills fan, and if you're watching the show or listening to the show, I certainly assume that you are. But if you are a fan, just enjoy it. Enjoy this ride, because yet again, it's just a lot of fun. And for the Bills to be 9-2 right now is pretty damn, at least to me anyway, it is just pretty damn remarkable. And as we kind of get into my week 11 takeaways, this is, partially tied into this football game specifically, but also this season as a whole. And here's where I actually want to start. I want to start with the head coach, Sean McDermott. I feel right now at this point, Sean McDermott legitimately deserves to be in NFL Coach of the Year, at least conversations right now. You got Mike Tomlin from Pittsburgh, Dan Campbell, Detroit. Jim Harbaugh is doing a fantastic job coming back into the league with the Chargers. Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota Vikings, they only got 2 losses. I would probably say Tomlin and O'Connell are front runners, and I would get why in both cases. Mike Tomlin, the Steelers, they just beat Baltimore on Sunday. They're 8-2. They were supposed to be kind of an afterthought in a division where everyone talked about the Bengals and the Ravens. Well, it's the Steelers who are emerging there with, an old quarterback and Russ Wilson, who's kind of found the fountain of youth a little bit anyway in Pittsburgh, a great defense. Mike Tomlin, year after year, has that team playing at a very good level. And then Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. I mean, hell, Bills fans know this because the Bills have Minnesota's second-round pick next year as part of that Stephon Diggs trade. And this was supposed to be a team that was not going to be very good. A rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who got hurt before the season even started. They turned to Sam Darnold, and guess what, folks? 11 weeks in, the Vikings have the same exact record that the Bills do. So I get why those two will be front runners. Dan Campbell, a head coach of a team that's just blowing the hell out of everybody. But Sean McDermott is right there. He has to be right there for a lot of reasons. This is a football team, and you can't forget it, even if you want to. They just lost so much this offseason in terms of core players in leadership, even if they were, a lot of guys who were past their prime. But you lose Jordan Poyer, you lose Trey White, you lose Mitch Morse, you lose Gabe Davis, you lose Stephon Diggs, you lose Leonard Floyd. Micah Hyde, I don't want to say you lost him yet, but you probably did. I don't think he's coming back. A lot of core players, part of the nucleus of this football team during the Sean McDermott regime, all gone. And then you get into this season, and this is a team that's had a lot of injuries. I mean, other teams have as well, but the Bills have been hit hard. Matt Milano has still not played a snap this year. Teron Johnson, arguably the best slot corner in the entire NFL, he misses a month. Terrell Bernard, one of the best middle linebackers, we'll talk about him in just a few minutes here, in the NFL when he's on the field. He's already missed 3 games. Ed Oliver's missed a game. Dwan Smoot is on IR. Dwayne Carter started showing really good signs as a rookie, got hurt. He's on IR. No Dalton Kincaid on Sunday against the Chiefs. No Spencer Brown on Sunday against the Chiefs. No Keon Coleman on Sunday against the Chiefs. James Cook has missed a game this season. Khalil Shakir has missed a game this season. Mari Cooper has missed 2 games this season since getting acquired in a trade, and he played at far less than 100% on Sunday. So the Bills have been ravaged by injuries, but yet they're here at 9-2. That's got to be a reflection of your coach. If you want to talk specifics, I said this on social media. I believe I said it on the post-game show yesterday with Joe from Queens. Now I'm going to say it again. It's 4th and 2. You're on the Kansas City 26-yard line. There's 2:17 left in the game, and you're up by 2 points. You could kick that field goal. You could go up 5. Because if you go for it and you don't get it, if the Chiefs make a stop, Patrick Mahomes only needs a field goal to win the football game. That's a very conservative mindset, but it would not have been the most unreasonable conclusion to say, let's kick the field goal. I trust my defense to keep Patrick Mahomes out of the end zone. Fortunately, and especially because it worked out, Sean McDermott did not think that way. Sean McDermott said, you know what? I've seen this rodeo too many times. Patrick Mahomes is going to take you down the field, find a way to get that ball in the end zone, and you're going to leave, with a 1 or 2 point loss. And Sean McDermott trusted the offense. More specifically, he trusted Josh Allen to make a play, and he did. And he was rewarded for that faith in his offense. And this is not the first time. I mean, that was the biggest play in the biggest situation because it was inside of 3 minutes. But this isn't the first time this season where we've seen Sean McDermott be more aggressive. Which, by the way, the whole Sean McDermott is too conservative. There's a lot of things to bitch about with Sean McDermott. Game management, stupid wasting timeouts, whether they're Kodak moments or dumb challenges, which he had yet another one this game here yesterday on Sunday. But one thing about Sean is he's been aggressive. I go back to the Miami game on the road in week 2. First series of the game, it's like 4th and 2 or something like that from the 27-yard line. Following a turnover, easily could have got on the board and scored 3 points. But no, the Bills went for it. And it was James Cook ended up scoring a touchdown, a wide open James Cook on a pass from Josh Allen. It really set the tone for this game. So I'm just really pleased with what I've seen from Sean McDermott this year. Again, when you factor in what they lost, when you factor in the injuries, guys in and out of the lineup on both sides of the football. Yet, this is a team right now, 11 weeks in, that is just putting up 30 points a game like it's nobody's business. Like it don't matter who the opponent is. It doesn't matter who's hurt. This just, again, a team that just comes to play every week. And this is a very, very, very unselfish football team. Very unselfish team. The Bills do not give a shit who the star is that day. As long as somebody is the star, as long as somebody is carrying this team to a victory. We've seen several guys over several weeks step up. And it feels like, other than Josh Allen, it feels like it's somebody different who's the hero of the game almost every week. Very unselfish, high character football team. They really enjoy playing for each other. That's culture, folks. That is culture. And Sean McDermott deserves a hell of a lot of credit for that. I mean, the Bills right now, just got to win one more football game, which you got to assume they're going to do that. This is going to be the 6th straight 10-win season that Sean McDermott has coached this football team to. 82-43. He's got a 656 winning percentage. That is like one of the better winning percentages of all time. Now, I'm not saying he's a better coach than Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. He's not. Those guys have won it all, multiple times. But his win percentage is higher than either of those guys. I'm really pleased with the job that Sean McDermott is doing this year. And I know it's like the low-hanging fruit to blame everything. Every time this team plays bad or something during the game, it's just really easy to be overly critical of Sean McDermott. And I am very guilty of that sometimes. But I'll tell you what, he has been a huge asset to this football team this year. And I truly think, at the very least, he deserves strong consideration, as things stand right now anyway, for Coach of the Year. Top 3 for sure. You want to have Tomlin, O'Connell ahead of him. I'm not going to fight you on that, but yeah, it's just, to me, Sean McDermott's been right there. I'm just so pleased with him. Before I get to a break, I mean, it would be stupid to not talk about Josh Allen here. So we're going to talk about, Sean McDermott being in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Well, I'll tell you what, as things stand right now, 11 weeks in, and I feel very comfortable after this game saying this and not feeling like a homer for doing so. But not only does Josh Allen deserve MVP consideration after 11 weeks, to me, Josh Allen is the MVP of the NFL after 11 weeks. That 26-yard run, that will be, if you have candidacies right now, okay, that to me is probably the clip you start with. Like, that's the opening highlight out of 2024 Josh Allen MVP reel. He just was not going to be denied. And I'm telling you, for real, MVP voters, whoever the hell you are out there, you're going to remember that play, because it iced the game, it won a football game, and it came against Patrick Mahomes in the 4th quarter late on a 4th down play where you absolutely need to have that play. He does it. Not Patrick Mahomes wasn't on the field, but, for all intents and purposes, like it always is, it's Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen just makes that play. My buddy, I said this on the show yesterday, a good friend of mine, Mike D, shout out, show sponsor Imperial Pizza. He's a manager there anyway. 23-year season ticket holder for the Bills. And he wrote on Facebook, probably after more than just a couple beers, but he said that in 23 years, that was the best singular moment that he has felt at that stadium. I might kind of argue and push back a little bit, because all you got to do is go back one home game before, when Tyler Bass hit his 61-yard field goal, literally as time expired, to win a football game for the Bills. But anyway, yeah, it was a special, magical moment. These are the things that Josh Allen does. So, yeah, it's right up there with the Bass kick. It's right out there with the Micah Hyde interception in the playoffs against the Patriots a couple years ago. Just an unbelievable moment. Josh in this game, 27-40 for 262, 12 carries, 55 yards. Again, big injuries too. Big injuries. No right tackle, no Spencer Brown, no Dalton Kincaid, no Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper on a pitch count of sorts. And it just doesn't matter. It does not matter. The team scores 30 points for the 8th time this season. Statistically, pace-wise, not the greatest statistical season pace that Josh is on right now. 3,930 yards. That's what he's on pace for. 28 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But for me, with Josh Allen, and we've seen this a lot, the last 2 games, home games especially, actually the last 2 games period, I'm sorry, because I'm talking about Indy last week as well. With Josh Allen, to me, the best trait that he has is not the numbers. It's not about the numbers. It's about his ability to make up for the bad plays all the time. Like you go back to that game last week in Indy, and there was moments where he was awful. He threw 2 interceptions. At least one of them for sure was awful. The other one, you can make an argument he was starting to get hit when he threw the ball. I don't buy that. I just think it was a bad throwing decision too. So you have those two. You have an ugly, ugly miss to a wide open Dalton Kincaid down the right sideline, which should have been a touchdown. Those are the kind of mistakes where most quarterbacks make those mistakes. You throw 2 picks, you leave 6 points on the board with a really ugly overthrow on a wide open guy for a would-be touchdown, and you kind of going to take that game. Joe Flacco is a perfect example. Last week, he couldn't bounce back from that. Most quarterbacks don't. Josh Allen does, and he does it all the damn time. This game, there were a couple bad throws, including one to Quentin Morris, which very likely, if it's a good throw anyway, Quentin Morris walks in for a touchdown. You missed that. The interception on 4th down, although, kind of looking at it back, it definitely was a situation where him and Dawson Knox were not on the same page. I don't know who's more at fault. Maybe if you call it 50-50. But anyway, Josh made some bad throws. He had a couple bad decisions. That's what you get with Josh Allen. But the difference with him, time and time and time again, and you saw it on Sunday too, he just overcomes his own mistakes. He is great at overcoming his own adversity because, again, sometimes it's bad luck. Sometimes it's bad decisions from Josh Allen. But holy shit, man, when you need him, he just comes through. And find me a better player in football this year. I don't think you're going to. To me, 11 weeks in is without question the NFL MVP. Anyway, take a real quick break, come back on the other side, and I'm going to run through a handful of other my biggest takeaways from the Buffalo Bills. A big, big, big win over the previously unbeaten Kansas City Chiefs. All right, we are back here. Week 11, biggest Buffalo Bills takeaways. Look, I'm recording this early afternoonish on Monday, and I'm still a little bit on a high from this game. Not going to lie to you. I still feel really, really good. This victory Monday felt at least a little bit better than the others because of the situation, because of the opponent. I think this game really validated this Buffalo Bills team as a true contender. I feel that way right now, and that's not hyperbole. I don't think it is, and it's not me acting like a fanboy on this show. I'll tell you like it is. This team is for real. You can't deny that after this game. Anyway, I want to continue. My next take, the take is mine. The tweet is from someone else, and I'd be remiss if I didn't give the proper person credit. I saw this tweet on social media, on Twitter. It's from @ButlerBuckets, and it pretty much said, every team needs a Khalil Shakir. And that's so true. Khalil Shakir, yet again, big, big, big for the Buffalo Bills. That 3rd and 9 catch that he made from the Kansas City 44-yard line for 10 yards was a huge, huge play. The safety for Kansas City, Cook, man, he gave him a hard shot, and Khalil was in pain. He stayed down. He got up back in the game. Tough son of a bitch. Tough son of a bitch. That was not an easy catch to make. He was extended, and if he's not completely 100% focused on making that catch and being willing to pay the price, no, this was on the game-winning drive, too, by the way. The Bills are at 4th and 9. And they might have been at a crossroads with this game. And again, you're at your 44-yard line. If he drops that football, it's 4th and 9 from the Kansas City 44. And that's not a high percentage play. There's a very, very good chance that Sean McDermott punts. In fact, I'd be willing to bet he did. So that catch by Khalil Shakir in some ways helped save this football game. 8 catches on the day, 70 yards. I had a long of 22, a nice little run after catch, which we see every week. And don't look now. And mind you, Khalil Shakir has missed a game. He did not play a game in Houston. And he also only played a couple series against the Jets and only had 2 catches because he just couldn't move on that ankle. He tried to give it a go. So mind you, the guy's basically missed a game and a half. But yet, going into this bye week after 11 weeks, Khalil Shakir is at a pace of 87 catches for 926 yards on the season. If I would have told you back in August, Khalil Shakir is going to have himself an 87 catch, 926 yard season, who in God's name would not have signed up for that? I know I would have. He has just been steady, consistent, an absolute machine. And this offense is just so much better when he is on the football field. Again, another standout game from Khalil Shakir. Watching the film back, I have an unsung hero. And I didn't expect this. This is why sometimes if you watch the game and then you do a post-game show like I did on Sunday, you really don't have time to go through things, and it might not look like it at the time, but then you get a chance to go back and you rewatch a game, or you go through the all 22, however you watch the game back. You see a couple things that you didn't realize the first time around. And I have an unsung hero for this game. And for me, that unsung hero is O'Cyrus Torrence. O'Cyrus Torrence, for me, is your Buffalo Bills unsung player of the game. You look at that one block specifically. Chris Jones, one-on-one. And I said Chris Jones. The Chris Jones. You all know Chris Jones real well. On that game-winning Josh Allen touchdown run, if O'Cyrus Torrence doesn't do an effective job of blocking Chris Jones one-on-one, Josh Allen is never getting that steam ahead, and he's not scoring. It was an incredible play there by O'Cyrus. And he had a couple bad moments. I remember early in the game, he had a really bad rep, and I kind of said on Twitter, he's having a rough go. I do think he had a rough first quarter, but man, oh man, he turned it up. He turned up. And when you could take a guy like Chris Jones and other talented players on the Kansas City front defensive line as well, and neutralize them the way that O'Cyrus Torrence, and for the most part, the offensive line as a whole did, you deserve a lot of props. I thought O'Cyrus Torrence, we'll see what his grade is with PFF, although, again, I really don't give a shit because to me, he did a really effective job. When he had the opportunities with Chris Jones could have wrecked that game, turned it upside down, and O'Cyrus Torrence was a big reason why he didn't. So props to him. Props to the Bills' defensive tackle tandem of Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, a big menace. Daquan Jones helped set the tempo right away, the tone for the game for the Bills, that first series. So the Bills win the toss. They defer. I think it was a third down play. Daquan Jones gets pressure on Mahomes, hits him as he's throwing the ball, and it leads to a Taylor Rapp interception. So Daquan made his presence felt right away. As for Ed, look, I think to me, and this is where it could be kind of stats could be bullshit, especially for defensive tackles. He only had 1 tackle in the game. Who cares? Ed Oliver was a menace the entire game. And I thought this was actually his best game of the season. Like, this is the Ed Oliver. If you're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in January, I need the Ed Oliver that we saw on Sunday to be the Ed Oliver that we've seen in January. Because that's the Ed Oliver that makes the Bills defense a hell of a lot better. Because it wasn't even about sacks. It was about pushing the pocket, about hitting gaps, about penetrating, making plays in the running game, which he did, even if he didn't get the tackle. He was in. Von Miller ended up getting the sack. Ed Oliver was right there as well. Just a complete menace the entire game. And if you're going to beat Patrick Mahomes, I called this one of the 3 keys of the game for the Bills. Not that I was unturning any stone, coming up with something unique here, but the Bills, you got to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes and at least make him uncomfortable with your front 4. And they did. And Ed Oliver played a huge, huge role in that. Another takeaway, speaking of huge, Terrell Bernard. Dude is everywhere, man. He's everywhere. Got a sack in the first quarter. I had an interception, of course, to ice the game. Travis Kelce, 2 catches, 8 yards for the game, not a drive, for the game. 2 catches for 8 yards. Maybe your boy was mad that Taylor wasn't in the building. I don't know. But the Bills took him away. And a lot of that, of course, credit to Bobby Babbage primarily, but Terrell Bernard, his communication out there, knowing they knew, and with him calling the plays and communicating with other guys, they knew where Travis Kelce was every single play. Like, it was kind of obvious that Babbage, McDermott, they said, if we're going to get smoked by the Chiefs, it's not going to be because Travis Kelce kills us. You can't help but think, man, if Terrell Bernard plays in the playoffs last year, maybe it's a different outcome. Kelce had 5 catches, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year in that playoff win for the Chiefs. But yeah, man, Bernard was fantastic. He was fantastic run defense, fantastic pass defense. And again, he had a turnover, a sack, and just his presence, his communication. It's just such a better defense when Terrell Bernard is out there. Durability is his only concern. Literally, that's it. Like, Terrell Bernard is a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker when he's out there. So Travis Kelce didn't kill them. Also want to, a big takeaway from this game. And I really don't know, just watching it once. Maybe we'll learn more throughout the week. I look forward to hopefully hearing more from others too about this. But whatever the adjustments that were being made on Xavier Worthy that the Bills did, they worked. I mean, this guy had 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown on a drive. And at the time, and I'm sure a lot of you felt the same way, it was like, great. So all we're going to hear about, this is the Xavier Worthy game. The guy that the Bills, could have taken at 28. They trade down. They let the Chiefs come, and they let the Chiefs go get Xavier Worthy. And then Xavier Worthy comes to Buffalo and has 9 catches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. That felt like that's where we were headed during that game. But the Bills made some adjustments, and whether they just decided to take Xavier Worthy away, which from little I could actually tell by watching the film. I'm not, especially when it comes to defensive coverages, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know what the hell I'm even talking about. So whether it was a combination of the Bills or just Patrick Mahomes seeing other things out there and getting away from him, I don't know what it was. But here's what I do know. Xavier Worthy, not only did he not have a catch in the second half of this game, Xavier Worthy didn't have a target in the second half of this game. I saw lots of Teron Johnson on him, some Christian Benford, even a couple times when he was in the slot. I don't know, man. Like, limited time. I'm taping this early Monday afternoon, so I've had limited time to really lock in. And I'll look for more, but just almost weird how the Chiefs got away from Xavier Worthy, and certainly the Bills deserve credit for taking him away in some regards. Mari Cooper, both 2 catches, and they were both huge. Limited reps, 37 reps. He played 51% of the snaps, which was only 4th among the receivers. Shakir, Samuel, Matt Collins, they all played more, but in 3 targets. But man, oh man, he made the most on those 2. First drive of the game for the Bills is 3rd and 6. He catches a 30-yard pass, just an incredible focus there to bring that football down. I was going nuts. I'm sure a lot of you were as well, which, by the way, led to a touchdown. So it wasn't like a wasted highlight reel catch that went for nothing because the Bills scored a touchdown. Another time, it's 2nd and 11. Down that right sideline, another fantastic catch. That one goes for 25. And again, it wasn't a wasted highlight because James Cook scored a touchdown on that drive. So both his big catches that went for big yards, 30 and for 25 yards, one on 3rd and 6, one on 2nd and 11, they didn't go to waste because the Bills scored touchdowns on both of them. And it's just, look, nothing against Matt Collins for sure, or Keon Coleman if he's out there, whoever. There's but a smaller smattering of receivers in the NFL that are making those catches that Amari Cooper made with the cast on him and a bad wrist. It's just a better offense when Amari Cooper is on that football field. Again, he makes catches. Other guys don't. There's just a good feeling about this offense when he's out there. And I don't want to talk about the offseason right now. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But this could be a priority guy now. This went from a rental guy to a guy who, you know what, Brandon? You might want to get this guy back here for 2 to 3 years if you can, because him and Josh got some pretty quick chemistry out there. Somebody who has not had chemistry with Josh for a lot of this season, but came up huge on Sunday, second straight week where he's had a significant role in this offense, is Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel was huge for the Bills. 6 targets, 5 catches, 58 yards. Caught that 12-yard touchdown. He also had a nice 21-yard play as well. Also drew a pass interference penalty. Big third down and catch. It was third and 7 or third and 8, something like that. He caught for a pass for 15 yards on that Bills' first touchdown drive. Last 2 games now for Curtis. 9 catches, 93 yards, touchdown. This is looking like the guy that Brandon Beane signed in March, where you give this guy $8 million, and you're like, well, he's going to be a significant part of this offense. Looks like that. You don't look like the guy we saw earlier in the season, which now you wonder, turf toe, how much of a factor that was, or just Joe Brady not being able to carve out a better role for this guy. But with Kincaid out, with Coleman out, injuries are a factor. You know, he had to step up, and he did. So a really good job for him. Last take I have too is, speaking of good, Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin. You know what? And DeMar too. They continue to be not detriments to this Buffalo Bills team. You know, Taylor Rapp had a pick for a second straight game. I thought at the time, I'm not going to lie to you, being honest, I didn't love the Taylor Rapp re-signing. I thought Jordan Poyer was, even though over the hill, I still trusted him more. And I thought, you know, maybe the move would be let Poyer play out that second year of his contract. But the Bills moved on from Poyer, and it certainly now looks like the right move, because Taylor Rapp gives up plays. He does get beat. He does give up plays. But again, he's a physical dude, and he makes up for it. He kind of is showing a neck for the big play. As for DeMar, I'll tell you what, he didn't get exposed. And I don't mean that with malice. I don't mean that to be sarcastic, but my bar for this game with DeMar Hamlin was don't get beat bad. Don't be the sore eye spot on this defense. I really thought and was concerned that in this game against this offense with that quarterback and those weapons, that this was going to be the game where DeMar Hamlin would stick out like a sore thumb. But he didn't. He didn't. I thought he played perfectly fine again. And I feel like this is the 4th or 5th time in a row now I've said that. I can't say he's been bad. He's turned things around. He missed 1 tackle, but who gives a shit? Lots of Bills defensive players, lots of players around the league miss a tackle. But his tackling has been really, really good. In fact, he's one of the better tackling defenders on this football team at this point. He's more active around the box. I can't say he's been bad. He's turned things around. He's been pretty good. I still don't think he's the future of this position. Like, they used a 2nd-round draft pick on Cole Bishop for a reason. Cole Bishop is very likely the future of that position. But I was really convinced that Micah Hyde was going to sign with the Bills. And hell, who knows? Maybe he still does. But I don't think DeMar Hamlin has played bad enough that he should lose his job. You're on a 9-2 football team. They clearly love DeMar. His teammates love him. Coaches love him. He works his ass off. By the way, props. Tyler Dunn had a great feature article on him on Go Long. You should go check that out from last week if you didn't already. But yeah, look, DeMar Hamlin's earned his keep. That's what I'll say about DeMar Hamlin. DeMar Hamlin has earned his keep right now with the Bills. And I'm kind of shying away from thinking, and we'll know this week because I feel like it's going to happen this week, barring an injury. You know, if DeMar gets hurt late in the season, maybe they turn to Hyde anyway. But if it's a non-injury football reason only, if Micah Hyde is going to sign with the Bills, it's going to be in the next couple days. And based on what I'm seeing with DeMar over the last month, really don't even think that's necessary. A couple quick hits here. The depth. The depth continues to shine for the Buffalo Bills. That has been, to me, the low-key story of the season. Josh Allen being an MVP is the story of the season to me. The low-key story of the season has just been the depth. With all these injuries, guys have had to step up, and they just continue to do it. We talked about Samuel already. Cam Lewis had a couple really good plays on defense, had a really good special teams play as well. He played great. Ryan Vandermark, didn't even mention him because he wasn't a factor, and that's a compliment. That's a good thing. Spencer Brown down against a really good Chiefs defense. You're like, oh, shit, this could get really ugly on the offensive line. Well, guess what? It didn't. Not at all. Not at all. Ryan Vandermark steps in, and it's not even the side that he's comfortable playing on. You know, he likes playing on the left side. Early in the season before he got hurt, Grable was the third tackle, and Vandermark wasn't even active because he was perceived as not being nowhere near as good on the right-hand side. Well, he had to start on the right-hand side, and he played really fine. So he definitely deserves props. Joe Brady, we'll get into this throughout the week. I need a little more time to figure some stuff out. I need to go through some numbers. This is where I kind of missed out having the PFF stuff for the show. But I can tell you this, a lot of the first down run calls, just really annoying. I do know that the Bills ran on first down, not counting the kneel down at the end of the game, but 6 times, and they generated a total of 5 yards. Like, this team was in second and third and long way, way too many times. I counted 3rd and 7 yards or more at least 10 times, and it might even be a little bit more than that, but at least 10 times, 3rd and 7 or longer. And short of having an MVP quarterback like Josh Allen, who could, I guess, bail you out, which he did a lot of, that is a bad trend. That's going to catch up with you sooner or later. So this team needs to find a way to be better on first down. Was not too pleased with a lot of Joe Brady's early down play calls. Anyway, and I kind of go I'm emptying out the notebook here over the last few minutes, kind of random here. Jordan Phillips played 16 snaps on Sunday. Quentin Jefferson, just 2. That to me could be telling after the bye, Dwayne Carter, if he's off IR, which is very possible before this next game. I don't think they're going to carry 6 defensive tackles on the active roster. So if you're going by this game, which is a big game, Phillips outsnapped Jefferson 16-2. Tells me that maybe Jefferson might be on borrowed time as things stand right now. We talked about, kind of shutting down, not kind of, they did shut down Travis Kelce. For the most part, they also shut down DeAndre Hopkins. Not a big factor at all. 3 catches for 29 yards. I expected him to be a much bigger factor in this game. And one of those 3 catches probably shouldn't have been a catch. So there's that. I thought the officiating was not a big factor in this game. And you can't sit here and say the Bills got screwed. Chris Jones got away with a face mask for sure on Ty Johnson. We all saw that. That Hopkins catch that I felt like wasn't a catch should have at least been reviewed. It wasn't. But you can look on the other side as well. Matt Collins got away with probably what was an offensive pass interference, a pick penalty on that Samuel touchdown. Let the players play. You're going to miss some calls. I mean, you're not going to be perfect out there. It just felt good to not have a game, especially a big game like this, feel like the officiating was an overly big factor. So to sum this all up here, as I'm getting ready to get out, going into the bye, again, you're 9-2. Obviously, now the number 1 seed's in play. It's certainly in play. The Bills are just 1 game back of the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they would lose a tie. So if it finishes in a tie with those 2 teams anyway, the Bills had the advantage there. So you don't like to think about it, but it's a factor now. The Bills are in play. But for me, if you can't get that, of course, that's your ultimate goal. But getting that 2 seed to me would be big. Because if you look at the way, and 11 weeks in now, I think we're starting to get an idea of how things are going to play out in the AFC. The 2 seed, not only do you get, 2 home games, because if you win your first round game, you're automatically going to be playing at home again in the second round as well. But not only just that, of course, but you're likely going to play a team. You're going to play the 7 seed if you're the 2. And when you look at the AFC standings right now, it certainly feels like it's going to be Denver, Indy, maybe Miami. Miami might not be dead yet, folks, for that wild card spot anyway. But you're talking Denver or Indy or Miami as opposed to if you're the 3 seed and you got to play 6 in the first round. That's probably going to be the Chargers or Baltimore. Let's just say Pittsburgh is 2 games up in the AFC North. They win that division. So Baltimore's a wild card team. The Chargers are only a 3-loss team, but they're in a division where the Chiefs are a 1-loss team. Now, they still play each other. So I'm not saying that division is over, but in all likeliness, the Chargers or Baltimore, whoever's the lower seed, the higher seed would be the 5, the lower seed would be the 6. It's going to be much more difficult to face the Chargers or Baltimore in a potential wild card round matchup as opposed to, say, Denver, Indy, or Miami. And I don't want to get too far ahead. Definitely don't want to get too far ahead. Just saying, it's time to at least start thinking about that. The Bills have 9 wins right now, folks. And even if they just beat the Patriots both times they play them, and the Jets, who have just mailed it in at this point, in Buffalo too, week 17, Aaron Rodgers probably for sure will have an injury by then. Even if just won those 3 games, that's 12 wins. That's 12-5. That's not counting Frisco at home, which they certainly could win. The Rams on the road, which they certainly could win. And then the Detroit game, the game that the nation wants to see. This looks like a team that has almost a floor of 12 wins with a ceiling of 13 or hell, even 14 wins, which could be wild because the Bills could go 14-3 and still end up being the 2 seed. That's kind of wild too, as well. But anyway, just a fun week, man. A really, really fun week to go into a bye, to beating the Chiefs. And we've seen this before. You're not going to get too high. This is the 4th straight year the Bills are beating the Chiefs in the regular season. And we know what's happened in January, the previous 3. It could happen again. Hell, the Bills might not even get to the Chiefs again in the playoffs. We're not going to take any of that for granted. But I've said it a couple times. It just feels a little bit different, this team this year. Josh Allen is not turning the ball over as much, although he's had a little bit lately. But just everything seems to be coming together. It's a very unselfish football team, and it just feels different. We'll see how things play out. But anyway, tomorrow, kind of more big picture perspective with the Bills. I'm going to have Matt Moran on from SB Nation. Maybe we'll have a couple non-Bills centric episodes later in the week since they're not playing this weekend. Yeah, I know. Boo. We'll see what happens with the rest of the week. Anyway, we'll be back. Brand new episode. Matt Warren joining me tomorrow.